The day Russia invaded Ukraine. Motives and global response. Breaking news footage shows the dramatic invasion, with sirens blaring and explosions lighting up the night sky. Panic and chaos grip the streets as civilians scramble for safety. The world watches in shock and disbelief. The video provides a concise overview of the unfolding crisis. It covers the key events and reactions from the first day of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, setting the stage for a detailed exploration. Long-standing tensions between Russia and Ukraine escalated due to geopolitical, historical, and cultural disputes. The annexation of Crimea and conflicts in eastern Ukraine intensified animosities, creating a volatile environment ripe for conflict. Russia's motives for the invasion are complex, involving strategic military objectives and political ambitions. The desire to exert influence over Ukraine and counter NATO's expansion are key factors driving this aggressive action. The invasion began on February 24, 2022, in the early morning hours. Coordinated strikes targeted key military and infrastructure sites, signaling a full-scale offensive. The world awoke to a dramatically altered geopolitical landscape. Russian forces launched the initial attacks with precision strikes, targeting key military installations and infrastructure across Ukraine. Airstrikes hit airports, command centers, and radar stations to cripple Ukraine's defensive capabilities and ensure a swift advancement of ground troops. The assault on Kyiv, Ukraine's capital, quickly became a focal point of the invasion. Russian troops aimed to capture the city rapidly, believing that seizing the capital would lead to a swift collapse of Ukrainian resistance and government. Russia's military strategy involved a multi-pronged approach, combining air, land, and sea operations. By encircling major cities and cutting off supply lines, they intended to overwhelm Ukrainian forces and achieve a decisive victory within days. Key figures in the invasion included Russian President Vladimir Putin, who justified the attack with claims of protecting Russian-speaking populations. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky emerged as a symbol of resistance, rallying international support against the aggression. The invasion's impact on Ukrainian civilians was immediate and devastating. Families were forced into bomb shelters, and cities faced significant damage. The sudden violence prompted widespread panic, with many seeking refuge in neighboring countries, fearing for their lives. Ukraine's immediate military and political response was both swift and resolute. Mobilizing armed forces, they fortified key locations while President Zelensky urged citizens to stay strong. Determined to defend their sovereignty, Ukraine showcased unity and resistance against the aggressor. The international community was quick to react, condemning Russia's actions. Countries worldwide expressed solidarity with Ukraine, pledging support and assistance. Diplomatic channels buzzed with urgent calls for peace, highlighting the global concern over the invasion. Sanctions against Russia were promptly announced, targeting the nation's economy and key individuals. Financial restrictions aimed to cripple Russia's economic capabilities, sending a strong message to deter further aggression. These measures marked the beginning of a coordinated international effort. NATO's initial response emphasized collective defense and support for Ukraine. While not directly intervening militarily, NATO members increased military presence in neighboring countries. The alliance reiterated its commitment to defend member states and uphold international law. The United Nations convened an emergency meeting to address the crisis. Representatives from various countries voiced their condemnation and called for immediate de-escalation. The session underscored the urgency of the situation, with global leaders demanding a peaceful resolution. The European Union swiftly condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine, calling for immediate de-escalation and respect for international law. EU leaders convened urgently to discuss sanctions and coordinated efforts to support Ukraine both politically and economically. The United States expressed strong condemnation, with President Biden announcing severe economic sanctions targeting key Russian sectors. Washington pledged additional military aid to Ukraine and emphasized its commitment to defending NATO allies in Eastern Europe. Global media extensively covered the invasion, with live reports and in-depth analysis. News outlets highlighted the human toll, geopolitical ramifications, and the rapid unfolding of events, ensuring the world remained informed about the crisis. Both Russia and Ukraine engaged in propaganda, aiming to control narratives and bolster domestic support. Russian state media downplayed aggression, framing it as a defensive measure, while Ukrainian channels highlighted resistance and international solidarity. Protests erupted worldwide, with demonstrators expressing solidarity with Ukraine and condemning Russia's actions. From major cities to small towns, people marched, held vigils, and demanded stronger international measures to halt the invasion and support peace. The immediate economic impact of the invasion saw stock markets plunge as uncertainty gripped global investors. Sanctions on Russia led to a sharp decline in the ruble's value, while Ukraine's economy faced disruptions in trade and production. Cyber warfare became another battleground, with both nations experiencing cyber attacks aimed at crippling infrastructure. Critical systems in Ukraine, such as power grids and financial networks, were targeted, while Russia faced retaliatory cyber strikes from unknown actors. Initial movements of refugees from Ukraine began as families fled the violent conflict. Neighboring countries opened their borders to provide sanctuary, quickly setting up emergency shelters. The exodus underscored the dire humanitarian crisis unfolding. International humanitarian aid efforts ramped up swiftly, with organizations mobilizing resources to assist those affected. Supplies such as food, water, and medical aid were sent to Ukraine, while volunteers worked tirelessly to provide support on the ground. Insights from political and military experts highlighted the invasion's complexities and potential long-term ramifications. Analysts discussed possible scenarios, the resilience of Ukrainian resistance, and the broader geopolitical implications for Europe and the international order. Social media played a crucial role in disseminating information about the invasion. Platforms like Twitter and Facebook were flooded with updates, videos, and first-hand accounts, offering real-time insights and unfiltered perspectives from those on the ground in Ukraine. The first casualties reported were heart-wrenching, highlighting the human cost of conflict. Both Ukrainian and Russian lives were lost, with stories of brave soldiers and innocent civilians becoming focal points in the unfolding tragedy. Amid the chaos, initial attempts at peace talks surfaced, though progress was limited. Diplomatic channels remained open, with mediators urging both sides to consider ceasefire options and prioritize humanitarian concerns above military objectives. Recapping the first day's events, it was clear that the situation was dire and fluid. The global community's responses, from sanctions to emergency meetings, underscored the widespread impact and the urgent need for resolution. Viewers were encouraged to stay informed and support humanitarian efforts, recognizing the ongoing suffering and displacement. By spreading awareness and contributing to aid organizations, individuals could make a tangible difference in the lives of those affected by the conflict.